All right, welcome to another Twitter Space session of NFT LA. Co-hosting, we have Marketing and Communications Web3 Agency, and alongside me, I have the NFTs and Zach Sakar. How you guys doing today?
What up, what up, what up? I think Zach isn't on stage yet, bro. Let's get this dude up here. Let's get it popping.
Come on, Zach, come here. Don't be shy. All right, and along with Zach and Ben, we also do have Limaris from Web3 Security. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on.
No, it's a pleasure to have you here. Also, another one of our guests here is Weiwu from Token Script. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great.
Amazing. Glad to hear. Now, last but not least, we have our guys from Zertica. We're still waiting for them to come up here. Please, guys, we're sending. Oh, there you go. You guys are here. How you doing? You can just tap the microphone in the top, in the bottom left corner of your screen, and you can unmute yourself.
We need Zach to say what's up too. Say hi, Zach.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Let's go.
Yeah.
How you living? Wait, are your Halloween costumes, are they ready? That's the question. The clock is ticking.
Question. What are you dressing up as, Ben?
I already dressed as my Oni character and posted pictures that are as painful to look at as they are embarrassing. But I don't know if I want to put on that makeup again, man. It took me like 3 hours just to get it off.
I'm dressing as the stock market and the crypto market. They're just all red.
Wow. Wow. Actually, Limaris, would you mind giving Ben a little bit of advice in regards to makeup? I mean, he was saying that all of his makeup was a little itchy and stuff, and since you're all going red, maybe you can give him a little bit of advice there.
My favorite advice is just don't wear the makeup. But, you know, if you have to wear the makeup, make sure you wash your face before, I guess.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Imperative. I feel like I would have broken out really bad had I not tried to take the proper steps. But it did take me probably about 3 hours to put on everything and 3 hours to take it off. So am I going to dress as that again? Maybe not. I'll keep it simple.
All right. Okay, now let's see if our guys from Certic can say hi. How you guys doing?
Hello, I'm great. Thank you for asking and glad to be here.
Amazing. Yeah, no, we're glad to have you guys here. We're glad to have the best of the best here, right? So why don't we just kick it over and start a conversation?
Yeah, so I think the spookiest thing we could probably talk about coming into Halloween is how you could get hacked. I'm not sure if that's how everyone's feeling right now, but anytime there's a hack that hits the news anywhere about any wallet compromisation or a website or something, part of me freaks out a little bit.
Yeah, there seem to be some things like, wow, I could take these steps and protect myself. And then you see like these billion-dollar hacks of networks and like, the heck, no one seems to have this figured out. Hopefully we can find some more realistic answers from the experts here.
Yeah, I think the spookiest part about everything, and I guess we're on Halloween, so I'm going to call everything spooky and scary, is that, you know, unlike with the normal internet, when it comes to blockchain, you don't really have that customer service. So once you get hacked, you're just wrecked. Like there is no recovering it, there is no customer service, there is no reporting and no insurance and no anything. So all the things you can do to protect yourself really are preventative, because by the time you get hacked, it's too late. Unlike in Web 2, where we can recover your systems, we can, you know, sometimes we can recover your data and stuff. It sucks.
It's like healthcare. Get preventative. You know, by the time they've diagnosed the disease, it's too late. It's already in you. But if you take the proactive measures, you live a healthier life. It's security, health.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and people wonder like why it's happening. Like, is this, you know, like failing? But it's not so much a bug as a feature. If you build things from, you know, cryptography as the foundation, rather than, older versions of identity. Like, these are the trade-offs you make to build in this new fashion.
I don't think it's so much the cryptography because the cryptography is pretty safe. You're right on that, when we have this self-sovereign blockchain, that there is no identity really. Everybody's kind of an anon, and so it's hard to have full trust in something that's built to be trustless, right? That's one of the great paradoxes of blockchain, and how do we solve that? And unlike health, with health, we've been told since we're pretty young, like eat healthy, exercise, do this, do that, so you can be healthy and live a long life. With blockchain, we really don't know. We don't know what we don't know. There is no, I mean, at Hallborn, obviously, we have best practices that we recommend to our clients, but generally speaking, there's not enough awareness about what the problems are. So people can't protect themselves against what they don't know is out there.
That is spooky.
Yeah, Sertic.
I think we should. I think we should separate the best practice, which allows you to build a better product, and the ecosystem. Because no matter how much effort you put into best practice, you can only secure the websites that uses these best practices. There has to be some framework. To help us to identify which websites are already trusted or which websites are not, and it even better to anchor this trust on token instead. So you don't have to trust individual websites to use the tokens.
Yeah, I mean, I would say currently that that framework that exists to help you trust a website is the security audits done by folks like us over at Hallborn. Once we look at something, you can trust it because we've had multiple professional hackers look at it, and oftentimes we have a lot of findings. So I'll be sharing some of those more common findings lately. But I think that there's two sides to this. There's part of the responsibility falls on the user to do their part, and then part of the responsibility falls on the builder to do their part in building something safe,
I
right?
think,
So there's a lot of moving things here.
yeah, I think you're touching base on a very important point right here, and it's there's part of the of the responsibility on each side, right? So why don't we break it down a little bit and we go deeper into what those responsibilities are, or might be maybe on a high level.
Sure. So like for a user side, I would say the biggest danger for users is multitasking and being distracted in this new kind of attention span economy. When you can't focus, you're really not going to be careful. So you can be doing as much research as possible. You can be an expert NFT trader, but if you're distracted, if you aren't paying attention, you become low-hanging fruit. So number one, I would say is obviously use a hardware wallet because hardware wallets are much harder to hack than wallets that are extensions that are online. The reason for that is because if it's not online, it's not pingable. And if it's not pingable, it's a lot harder to hack. So hardware wallets are step number one for the users. And step number two, I would say, is really paying attention. Um, am I going to the right URL? Sometimes a URL might look like it's the project, but it's actually a different project. And they'll have a 0 instead of an O, or they'll have a .co instead of a .com, or whatever the case is. Am I actually clicking on the bio of the right Twitter profile? Is this a legit Twitter profile? Am I looking at the community? You have to do your own research. So how many followers? What's their follower to like ratio? Are their followers even real? If I look at Discord, is it just bots or is it people actually talking? You have to be careful that when you're minting an NFT, you're not asked to download anything, which we have seen in the wild. And there's a lot of good little practices like that that'll help keep you safe.
How tragic is it that it still happens that way? You're so right. If you're not paying attention, you click the wrong website or something, it's done. I was just in Blur.io's Discord server because there was some confusion coming into the launch where people wanted clarity on how transaction fees and other things were being handled. So I'm in there, I'm chatting with the community manager, and somebody was in there and they're talking about, hey, I deposited X amount of ETH, or I was trying to list something for sale, and it's not showing up. And he sends the transaction address, and the community manager was like, oh, you entered into a spoof site, and it's stolen, and there's nothing I can do about it. And you could just, like, the guy's desperately trying to figure out what he can do. And at that point, there's nothing Blur could do. They're like, sorry. You
I
know?
mean, there's definitely several things you can do to protect the rest of your wallet, but you probably can't do much to protect what was already stolen. Like, for example, if I entered and I connected my wallet to something malicious, I would probably immediately try to port over everything else that's in my wallet so that nothing else gets drained, right? Because normally hackers, they'll like connect to this stuff, but they won't act immediately. So as long as you're faster than the hacker and you run to exfiltrate and transfer all of your assets from whatever wallet was compromised to a new wallet, then hopefully you don't get compromised. Hopefully only whatever connection you had and whatever contract you executed is the one that gets compromised. So you might lose one NFT or you might lose whatever you had in a single transaction, but you won't lose the rest of your assets. Like for example, OpenSea, if you're trading NFTs on like Ethereum, OpenSea would have this feature under profile where you can click the extra like dot dot dot, you go profile, every NFT, there's these dot 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 menu bars and you hit transfer all. And it's a very quick way where you can run and try to protect yourself or protect the rest of your wallet, even if you lost that one thing in your wallet, right? And as NFT people, I'm sure you're hoarding many good collections. There's also revoke.cash and etherscan.io has a token approver checker. This works for Ethereum only, and it only works sometimes where if your transaction hasn't like gone through, sometimes you can prevent it from going through. But generally speaking, the only thing you can do is try to protect the rest of your assets because once you sign a transaction, it's gone.
Those are great like life hacks to just have those hotkeyed somewhere just in case.
Yeah, definitely bookmark them. Oh, and then bookmarking, that's another really good point. Bookmark the websites that you use because they're the websites that you trust. Just today, just before joining this call, there's a Susni Swap Twitter page that claims to be Sushi Swap and claims to have a sushi airdrop live right now. And there's millions, or not millions, but there's a bunch of likes and a bunch of retweets and people going to this sushi.com, but it's like spelled the wrong way because it's Susni. And trying to do an airdrop and getting scammed. And this is online on Twitter right now. I can't wait for Elon to get rid of all these bots.
Oh, don't tell me about it. I mean, in Twitter, we've seen that for a long time, but also on Instagram, the impersonators, like that's some crazy stuff as well. I'm eager to see like what you guys think of that as well.
I hate the impersonators. I will never ask you for money. So if you ever get a message from me, just know it's not me.
Wait, you're telling me that those 2 ETH I sent to that address, that was not you?
Nope. Sorry.
Oh.
Speaking of paying
I will
attention,
only ask for money, so that's the inverse is true.
I like jewelry though, so feel free to send me diamonds.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry, I don't take Ether, only diamonds. Got to keep it classy.
Yeah, exactly. The real value. I'm totally kidding. I'm long blockchain.
If we take the other perspective of like the people building community and building products, what are some of the pitfalls that you see most commonly tripping people up and putting at risk their own following?
I'd say there's a couple of top vulnerabilities. You have an easily bypassed MIT requirement. There's replay attacks. There's high gas cost functions. You can have logical errors. Sometimes, your random number generator or your pseudo random number generator is like weak. And other times you can do reentrancy attacks on NFT contracts. So there's more specific advice that you'd have to call me for, and I'd have to spend a whole 5 hours explaining to you. But those are the top vulnerabilities that we see on the logical side.
Oh no,
our
but we
NFT
have enough
marketplaces.
time. We do have enough time. Go ahead.
Okay, so like the Adidas hack, for example, when the Adidas hack happened, they were smart because they knew that people would want to hoard all of their contracts, but they said, okay, well, an individual can only mint 2 NFTs for the Adidas drop. However, a hacker just created 165 sub smart contracts and then individually minted 2 NFTs from those 165 contracts. And once they executed, they would send to the attacker's main Ethereum address, and then those contracts would like self-destruct. And so this hacker was still able to hoard all of these NFTs because the mint function was very easy to bypass. It was not that complicated for an attacker wanting to hoard all of these to be able to pull that off.
I'm going through. I was going through your page right now. I was like, "What's some good tips I can pin at the top?" I love that you have pinned that you'll never ask for money. You're ahead of it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I work in security,
You're on top of it. Certic, you guys do a scoring system, right? So when we're talking about going in and looking at contracts early on and understanding where those vulnerabilities fall, what are some of the things that you see on your end? How are you approaching this market heading into 2023? What's the most prevalent stuff that you're having to wrestle with?
Yeah, so I think when we talk about like securities, and so I mean obviously what every project should have like their contract like audited before launching on the mainnet. I don't think there's like exceptions. And we talk about like developers, like security engineers. So developers are like people that specialize in building softwares. So they might not be very familiar with securities or smart contract vulnerabilities. Even if they do, it wouldn't hurt to have like a second pair of eyes to look at their code. And like at the end of the day, your code is like managing people's money. And the last thing you want to happen is to get hacked or users protocol or you have the protocol to lose the money. And speaking of like NFTs, so for like years, so NFTs like ERC 721. So ERC 21 smart contract you can use like safe transfer function to transfer NFTs. And what developer might not know is like this function has like a hook, and when the hook, so the hook can get triggered if the NFT receiver is like a smart contract, and this is not so well-known behaviors, and this behavior can enables like a reentrancy attack. And if NFT project doesn't properly handle this case, it can be exploited. And the impact can range from like someone is able to maintain more NFT they should, or it can cause the project to get hacked and the attacker steal like all the money. I think there's a case. It's like the NFT lending platforms. The attacker was exploited and to steal all the assets. And yeah, so security wise, like all the projects should like get the security audits from a reputable auditing firm, and the cost of the audit is like so small compared to what project can potentially lost in like a hack.
I think that's a big point. A lot of people get nervous because the price tag on some of these audits can be big, but we're talking about like billions of dollars in some cases in these protocols. And for NFT projects, it might even it might look like less, but when we're talking about treasuries, we're seeing NFT sales where they're doing like 14,000 ETH in transactions in 1 year. There's all this need to really button down the hatches and make sure that that money doesn't get lost. You don't get locked out of the funds, that they're not these vulnerabilities people can take advantage of. Because when it does go wrong, it goes just horribly wrong.
Yeah, I think sticker shock is a common factor that we come across in the industry, but everybody who comes from a background of working at a big company or working at a successful company understands that unless you have your users' trust, you don't have users. And if you don't have users, then you don't have anybody to sell to. And it doesn't matter how good your product is, your product success is driven by user adoption. So if you end up on Wrecked, you're going to lose users and people are no longer going to trust you. And in a competitive economy like we're in right now, especially during bear market vibes, where there's limited users actively trading, you want to attract as many users as possible. You want to be the most trusted platform. You want to be the fastest platform. You want to be the best user interface, and you want to have the most, the best marketing and the best recognition in the space in order to survive. I mean, NFT projects at this point, they're copy pasta, they're dime a dozen. Yeah, there's some that are trying to be a little bit more unique than others, but as far as NFT marketplaces go across multiple chains, if one fails, I'm just going to switch and I'm going to use a different one that hasn't failed yet, that hasn't been hacked yet. And personally, once you get wrecked, I don't usually go back to using your product. And I don't know how many of you around here would agree with that or disagree with that. It takes a lot of trust. It takes a public report. It takes a lot of things to win my trust back as a user.
It depends
And
on how bad it is, right? Like,
well, I mean, yeah. And it depends on who it is as well, because, like, for example, if FTX and Coinbase were to get hacked today, they have so much support, they have so many people that I trust that they can actually recover from that. Versus if a little NFT marketplace that I use on a regular basis that I hadn't even heard of until last month gets wrecked, then I'll probably go on to someone else because it's run by 5 people and I don't trust that they can fix it.
no,
Eventually, people will have an idea of which websites are trustworthy and which websites are not. And the NFT projects which have bad reputation will not stay. That's what we are going to see. But there's another problem though. So currently, people decide if they trust something based on the brand, based on, let's say, okay, this is Ape. They have done a lot of projects, and we trust them. But the Ape token, take it as an example, will be used on more and more websites. So it could be like 1,000 websites that allows you to use it as an Ape holder, and some of them might call smart contracts. And it's really difficult to secure for the Ape team to secure the access to the apes outside of their main website.
Agreed. And so you can't, maybe you can trust your hard wallet and you can trust your hardware wallet and you can trust yourself that you won't do any shady transactions, but you have to be very careful with what marketplaces you're interfacing with because we've seen this happen time and time again where either a marketplace gets spoofed or their domain gets compromised or there's a similar marketplace like what I just shared about Susani instead of Sushi Swap, which if you're not paying attention you would glance at it and you think it's real, and if you don't know better and you're not aware of sushi and you're just getting into crypto, you might fall for that quote unquote free airdrop that's actually going to wreck you, and that's actually a scam. So I think to a certain degree, I agree with the trust in the brand, but to another degree, I would say trust but verify and usually just don't trust anything. If you're an advanced user and it's possible, obviously write your own smart contract. If you're not an advanced user, that's okay, but maybe use a more reputable NFT marketplace. Like don't go buying on shady markets and don't go buying on shady websites. Depending on your risk appetite, maybe stick to buying on OpenSea because OpenSea is known to be one of the safer ones so far. Or again, it depends on chain and everything.
That's a good point that one should trust nobody. And recently I heard a joke over a beer that somebody said that they figured out what trustless means in blockchain because this is really a cryptographic word. And he said that trustless means trust nobody. But actually, that's not what trustless means. Trustless means that if you have a smart contract, you don't have to trust the person correctly executed it because it was secured by the consensus. But people are not really getting it from the user level, though.
Right. And it's hard. I mean, think about it this way. We're expecting users in Web3 to just get everything when we have users in Web2 that are still struggling. I mean, how many of you don't get calls? I mean, I'm sure if you're listening to a call about NFTs or a Twitter space about NFTs, you're probably an advanced user, so you're probably the one that your family calls to fix their iPhone because it's not working, or hey, I have this pop-up, can you help me, or whatever. Like if we're still having these issues on Web2, I highly doubt that these issues are going to disappear on Web3. I think some of these issues in terms of usability and user error and trust, they're bleeding over and they're going to be persistent issues. I think it's a matter of just trying to build with security in mind so we're safer by default and trying to make sure that, when you're shilling to your friends, that you're only really sharing websites you trust. Like stop shilling shit websites to your friends. I'm sorry. Like I love degen products. I love obscure little things, but I'm a power user. I'm a hacker. Like I know how to protect myself. And if I get hacked today, I know how to recover my things and I don't really care to lose anything on my computer because I don't have a text file with my private keys on it, right? I just reimage my computer and I don't care. There's nothing on there. Versus if there's, you have friends that are asking, oh, what are you buying next? What collection are you doing? Whatever. Maybe tell them about the collection, but don't tell them about the shady, obscure website that you're buying it on. Only, if you're onboarding your friends and you're shilling to your friends and you're trying to help them go degen, you're talking to your Chad friends and you're like, yo, you should become a degen. Like maybe tell them about OpenSea and not some shady website that you found a month ago.
I love your love and hate relationship with the little DJ website. You said you love to use that. You see them little. You like the little DJ website, and you said again that there are shady websites and do share links. And I think that actually pointed us to one direction of growth, that in the future Web3 market, Web3 space will not be made of only NFT project websites and marketplace websites. I think there will be more and more small websites, such as the small shady website, and actually, I think they have a reason to exist here. So in Web2, if you run a website, if it's a small website, you don't have enough trust for users, for example, to pay on your website. You have to link to Google Pay and stuff. So ideally, Web3 will have this little website that the users cannot fully trust, in the sense that they are not afraid the website might steal their money, but it still provides some functionality and delicate trust to some already trusted Web3 ecosystem, such as tokens.
Yeah, I think that we need to get to the point where Web3 feels as frictionless as using your iPhone. You're banking from your iPhone, you're calling your friends from your iPhone, you're storing data from your pictures on your iPhone, you're downloading apps, you're browsing the web, you're doing everything from your iPhone. And unfortunately, I think Web3 is still a little clunky, and a lot of the security issues that we're seeing are people getting onboarded that just don't know better having issues. So I would say, if you're someone who knows better, make sure that you educate those around you. And if you're someone that doesn't know better, then ask someone who does know better. And I'm not hating on shady websites. I love like new projects that came out of nowhere that nobody's ever heard of because they're the most fun to investigate. I just mean that, careful how you shill, careful who you shill to, especially if the learning curve is a big one with whoever you're shilling to. Only recommend shady websites to your other power user friends.
Yeah, I agree. But let's go back to those friends who are not that familiar with this degen world. Let's say there's a common answer to when people say or ask any question in the Web2 space. Mostly newcomers, they get this answer, and it's just do your own research. But people normally just don't understand and don't get where this is actually pointing out to and what they have to keep in mind. I know, Limaris, you already pointed out a lot of great, good practices, but I want to hear from you guys at Certic. Maybe do you have something in regards to like how can people do their own research properly, and maybe other pointers into what to keep in mind on this point?
Yeah, so there's every day there's a new project shows up, and when users, especially newcomers, like get into the space, want to invest, they definitely should do their own research first. So the first thing is like when you go to a website, you can look for like it's like white paper and try to find out what the project is doing, and you should probably try to understand what the tokenomics is. And the second thing is try to see if the project is audited by like a reputable auditing firm, whether it's like ongoing audit or finished audit. If it's finished audit, you should like check its audit report to find out how many issues are there, whether issues are fixed or not. And another one important thing is in the audit reports, like in our survey audit reports, we highlight the centralization risk. So the finding will talk about what kind of what kind of privilege roles are in the project and what kind of things those roles can do. So for example, when you see the project that has a function that can mint unlimited of tokens for the owners, that is like a kind of a red flag. And if the country has like backdoors that can transfer users' funds, then that's certainly something you should like avoid. And so talking about like avoiding bad projects, I think there's a list of like red flag that you can like look for. For example, the first is like unreasonable high returns. If the project promise like a couple hundred APYs, right? It's like a red flag. No protocol can give that much returns. Another thing is if you are a little bit technical users, when you go to when you find out the contract address for a particular project, you can see, you can check if the project code is verified. So for a large part of do your own research is to for technical users is to read the smart contract code to see what's doing. If its contract is unverified, if it's really hard or close to impossible for users to do that, right? And also the other thing is check for the token, the holding positions. If a few addresses combines holds a lot of tokens and there's a no time lock, then that could be a red flag because they can just dump those tokens anytime they want. So yeah, do your own research, and if you find there's a couple of red flags for the project, try to stay away from it. Yeah.
All right, so we all got to be super careful now because Foxshot is in the room, and he's former SEC, so we don't want to get in trouble in front of Mr. Foxshot. But I figured the man, the myth, the legend himself could join us. I just pinned something up, and I actually want to get kind of the room's opinion. So apparently there was a loopable exploit on the recent artifact mint. And I'm still trying to uncover what that meant. I don't know
I
if
got
anybody.
you. We discovered that earlier today, actually. So there was a
Beautiful.
whole issue with that, and we had our team. So we identified a phishing campaign that was targeting that artifact NFT project, and the campaign was taking advantage of the Rimowa times artifact collaboration by convincing victims that they could get in early to mint for a limited edition collection before the public mint takes place. So it all happened with the rogue Twitter that led to a rogue website. The initial access happened through a token minting contract call using this Morales API thing. And essentially, long story short, you were getting wrecked if you connected your wallet to it because the attacker was collecting all of the keys and then trying to, well, whatever, he was draining your wallet essentially. And then we were analyzing the code that was executing something through I believe in both cases, the attacker was using Google Cloud to register websites and then was using Discord functions or something to, I have details somewhere that I can get back. But anyway, there's about
It's
25
so
separate
timely. I'm so
domains.
impressed that you're on top of
Yeah.
this.
Oh yeah, there's 25 different domains that the same attacker with the same code, because we reverse analyze everything and we could find it pointing back to several different locations. We're still kind of working on it. But there's several different domains right now. Artifactremowa.com, Ikigai Box NFT, 3877.online. I mean, there's a bunch of different websites that this attacker is actively running this phishing campaign through. So we'll be posting a blog post about that probably either tomorrow or tomorrow's Friday, tomorrow or Monday.
Trust me, I'm forgetting dates too. But Wolf, right? Those kind of exploits, they hit big, they hit hard, and they leave people feeling absolutely wrecked. So it's good that you're visible on the problem, and I've pinned some stuff up, guys. Make sure to look at the pin posts. Don't mind my silly costume, but Certic has a great hacked report as well that's live. I look at these reports occasionally. I'm just a pleb. I'm a dirty casual NFT collector. But I like to stay abreast of what's going to potentially wreck me because yeah, I've vested interest in the space. So I think it's even if you're not developing your own smart contract or whatever, sometimes it's good to just read up on what's happening in the world.
Yeah, and this was
Defense.
pretty interesting because the command and control communications were happening through the Discord webhooks, and that's how we were kind of able to reverse engineer and track all the other phony domains. So they're getting smarter. This is an advanced attack. This is not a novice hacker wrecking some minor vulnerability. This was cool.
This does sound cool. This is one of my favorite Twitter spaces ever. For those of us who are, maybe a little less advanced in understanding what all these risks are, things like, connecting your wallet to a DApp or, interacting with airdrops, whether you request it or you just find one that has been airdropped to you. What kind of risks do each of those come with it, and any similar type of activity that you see out there?
It's a scary thing that even if you connect to the wallet and do nothing at all, you might be attacked.
Yeah, so I would say this is the same with connecting to any website, really. I mean, if you're just on your computer and you collect to a malicious website, then you can be compromised. The difference is, I guess, on your wallet you have money, so you can probably care a little bit more because of the little bit of monies and the a little bit of NFTs that you have on there. But generally speaking, you should look at different things. So you should look at the domains that you're connecting to make sure that they are the right domain. Like for the artifact, the domain was actually pretty clever because I believe it was like artifact Rimowa instead of Rimowa times artifact or something like that that the website was actually linking to. We're going to be posting all those details later, but you need to make sure that the domain is the legitimate one, and you need to make sure you're not distracted doing a million other things, and that you're not distracted by your FOMO, that you're paying attention to what you're doing every step of the way. When you're executing this smart contract, is this a company that you trust? Is this actually worth this much? Is this coming from the real Twitter, or is this a spoofed Twitter? Is this coming from the real website, or is this a spoofed website? Sometimes you'll see that it'll say artifactremoa.com slash a bunch of garbage slash attackersrealurl.com. So you do have to make sure that you are looking through that whole URL. And, as far as users go, unfortunately, there's not much you guys can do as novice users. It's just don't trust things that really are not high trust. Like I would stick if you were brand new to NFTs and to trading NFTs, I would stick to the main websites that everybody uses, that everybody trusts, like OpenSea or like I don't know what Solana is probably like Magic Eden or Solana Art or something. And whatever the website is on whatever chain that you choose, whatever is the more trusted one for that chain with the most users and the most volume. Volume is a big indicator. If you have the most volume going through one marketplace, they're probably one of the more trusted marketplaces to be using. As far as connecting your wallet, if your wallet does get wrecked, like I said earlier, if you have a hardware wallet, um, then if your hardware is taken offline, then the hacker might eventually try to attack it. But when he executes a smart contract, if your wallet is offline, then it doesn't really do much. Um, Also, if you do notice that you are connecting to something suspicious, you can, like I mentioned earlier, go onto the website called what was this website? Etherscan.io token approver checker or the revoke.cash website to try to cancel those transactions.
Can we pin those links, Danny? Can you like post and pin?
Got
I
it,
think
got it,
that's
got it.
key to bookmark tools. Now, let's say I'm using a reputable marketplace like OpenSea, and I notice some strange tokens got airdropped to me. Like, should I be worried, or are the things I want to do or not do?
So
Yeah,
that
so
depends on a lot of different. Oh, let Sergey take that.
sorry. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so airdropping like scam coin is one of the I guess unique attack vectors that like scammers use to attack users. So in one of the cases happening in the past is like when so suddenly a user find out he has some like a token gets airdropped to his wallet, and the first thing what the user can want to do is probably just to sell the tokens and to get the monies. But so oftentimes those airdrop tokens, like malicious airdrop token, has the smart contract code is gonna stop you from selling them. And when you try to investigate like what's happening, like why I cannot sell it in like a blockchain explorer, such as like Etherscan, BSC scan, it will display like a message saying, hey, this is why you cannot sell. Please go to this website to unlock your token or something like that. And honestly, if the user visits the malicious site and like follows those steps in the malicious site, like connect your wallet and sign the transactions, and when that happens, your assets can all gone or be lost. And because so the attacker might trick the user into like signing a transaction to approve the attacker to use his tokens or move his like NFT in like a smart contract. right? So for like token airdrop, so make sure the token is come from like trust sources. For example, a couple of years ago, when I get like UNI tokens from Uniswap, right? I kind of know that's something I can trust. But if some days there's like a random token suddenly appear in your wallet, I will probably just ignore them and not to interacting with those tokens at all.
I think like I get airdrops all the time because I have like a bajillion NFTs, and I can never tell if I'm getting a legitimate airdrop or not. And so for a while, I heard people being like, "Well, you go and you click the sell button, and it'll drain your wallet." It's not that though, right? Like you would have to like sign a transaction that would give them access to your wallet. Because I'm really careful at reading those on my MetaMask, but it seems like most of the time what I'm experiencing on OpenSea is they're locked tokens, and you're going to a website and it's saying like, yeah, you got to submit to unlock or something. Anytime I see that, I'm just like, immediately it's a scam, and I hide it. And does it make sense to hide it, or should you just send it to a black hole wallet? Like, how do you guys think you should deal with those things?
I would say honestly, just not interacting with those tokens at all. And oh, by the way, so make sure you're using the up-to-date browsers, because for some updated browsers, you might get attacked by like browser 0 days, and the attacker might be able to install some malware or get access to data on your computer. That would be like super dangerous as well. So yeah.
So you heard it here. If you don't know what it is, don't touch it.
Yeah, zero trust.
Yeah, Foxtrot, you've been posting a lot about like the Discord scammers. You're still seeing that pretty prevalent, right?
Actually, we've been like more or less threat hunting like alpha groups. There's been a few that's on my radar. I can't say them because it's a recorded space, but they're doing more like a hostile takeover or a whale takeover of NFT projects. So that's where I guess an alpha group will go to like an NFT project that's like just about to mint out, and they'll promise all these things like, we'll make sure that your entire collection sells out, and just give us, I guess, X amount of pre-sale or X amount of NFTs or X amount of Ethereum. And so what end up happening in between, after mint drop, they'll say, hey, look, we have like X amount of NFTs, which would be a lot, and either give us like 5% of overall project or like X% of overall project, or we'll sell all these NFTs below like floor price and sink your project. And so a lot of these brands were like, okay, fine, you get like 5%, like whatever, or X amount. And then if they don't give them, they'll either like flood the project and sell all the NFTs, or they're just like sell them all and sink the project anyway. So
that's wild. That's like an exploitation, because that's market manipulation if you're paying somebody to come in and pump your project anyway. So it's kind of gray hat, so you can't really go anywhere with it, right?
Yeah, and so there's like 6 projects that came forward that reported to me this one particular alpha group that's been doing this. So I've been doing like the write-ups all day, as I am just recovering from COVID too. So that's fun. And
I'm sorry. That's why I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, pretty much. And then this happened, this not the same alpha group, but a different alpha group that was doing something very similar about a month or two ago. But they're doing more like they'll buy out the NFTs, and then they'll say like, they weren't even contacting the brand, they just buy out a bunch of them, and then they'll come forward and be like, hey, look, we have a bunch of your NFTs, so give me a percentage of project, or we're gonna like FUD or sell below floor. And then that's like whale takeover and hostage takeover. That's like a huge thing right now in the alpha groups. So that's where I've been like that's where I've been like mainly like hanging out in, is like those alpha groups.
In that second example, is there anything that a project could have done in advance to prepare themselves for that threat?
I would probably say like don't be a part of any alpha groups. To be honest, a lot of them are like in my database, I have about like 16 of them that are like very hostile. But they're extremely welcoming, and like that's why in our data models we started to like implementing more like psychology within it, in like there's a good person stance or people with authority, like people with a lot of followers. Let me get up like one of my data points. I can like actually just read off for you.
Only showing love to Young and the dojo right here, because my sensei's in the audience and his alpha group's been pretty chill. So I will say, and it's pretty much like an open Discord, all inclusive community. But you're right, like that. I don't do any of the paid alpha groups for the most part, and I stay away from people that I don't know their background and shit like that. So it's good for the most part, I think. A lot of people want to get on the inside, and the truth is getting in early, being attached to these projects is ridiculously lucrative for the people that are able to pull it off. But like if you get caught up in the bullshit of market manipulation and trying to like, you know, trying to game people, like it's going to send you down a really dark path and you'll end up wrecked. That's all I got to say.
So the behavior profiling we have is like a lot of misdirection, like stalking. There might be like people like if you've seen your communities, like I mean, I guess like one person or two, like that's always following you around. That's like okay, because that's usually what happens in Twitter Spaces and stuff. But there comes a time where like one of those people might like be in your DMs and really started like having a trusted relationship with you. If you're familiar with like MITRE ATT&CK framework, there's like, I think it's under reconnaissance or initial access. I forgot which one. I think it's under initial access. Where like a threat actor will have like start forming some sort of like trusted relationship. And so a lot of our behavioral profiling is from like different agencies about like, it's actually kind of funny and like weird and screwed up at the same time, all mixed into one. But one of the people that I interviewed for like my behavior profiling was like anti-terrorist, like counter-intel or counter-terrorism. And I was like describing them how alpha groups are operating. And he's like, well, that's very similar of how like gangs and terrorists like recruit people too. And it's more like the vulnerable people. So
if NFTs were gangs and terrorists, oh wait,
so
we're roaming gangs. Let's be real.
So like
is
the way it
this
would
alpha
like,
group Russian based?
no, they're like the ones that the two I'm doing right now are US.
There was a Russian-based alpha group when we started our Smart Token Labs 4 years ago, and there was Scam Project too, and they have an app on App Store that if you install, if you open the app, they will just ask for your private key and steal the money.
To be honest, they're not all Russian based. I've seen those with every country. I've seen those in LATAM, in Brazil. I've seen them around the US. I've seen those every country possible.
What surprises me is they use the same name, so they're all called alpha groups.
Yeah, that might have been from that threat specifically, from that threat actor specifically.
Yeah, so like what we started doing was like why would someone join an alpha group? Like starting asking those questions out, and like we're interviewing like different agencies, like why? And then for us it was like, well, if someone say if I threw in like $100 into an NFT and that got rugged, I'm probably going to shrug my shoulders and be like, well, I learned from that mistake and I'm going to learn how to do better. And then some people in the space, like if they lose $100, like that's a lot of money to them. So they can, they might join like, they might be like going into other spaces and be like, yeah, I got rugged. And people will be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, oh, you should join this like alpha group. And like, that's where alpha group, like more or less would start recruiting those kind of people to be like, promise of like, oh, we'll help fill your bags. Like you'll make a lot more money if you do it our way and you come in like, we do all the hottest trades you know, and then they'll have like someone that has like a Bored Ape, you know, and people blindly follow those types of people too anyway. So not like they're bad people or not, but it's usually like people with a lot of money or shows that they have a lot of money, and then the person that just lost a lot will join into those groups. So it becomes like a huge like psych warfare at that point. And then the alpha group might show like, you know, a good person stance, like friendliness, like like some realm of its intelligence. And so they'll join in these groups, and then they'll maybe start up small, like, oh yeah, all we're gonna do is raid this person's Twitter, or whatever, to like pump their, like, you know, boost their product up. And so then it'll start doing those like patterns of like raiding someone's Twitter and getting a lot of engagement. And once they improve loyalty to that, then it'll like move up the ranks until it's like maybe a little bit more malicious behavior, and it goes on and on. So
do we have scam intelligence anywhere on number of Bored Apes that are icons of scam artists, or like crypto punks that are icons, or are they just like plagiarizing, like ripping it? Are there actual like Bored Ape Yacht Club owners like we should look out for? And maybe it's not calling them out specifically, but like just knowing that there's a number out there of Bored Ape Yacht Club members that you should be cautious around because
As a
they
woman
bought
in
it.
blockchain, I'm very wary of all Bored Ape Yacht Club holders.
Well, sorry to any Bored Ape Yacht Club holders in the group.
No, sorry to me for the things that I had to put up with at that one Bored Ape Yacht Club party that was really awkward.
Well, bless your heart for going to a Bored Ape Yacht Club meet. No, I'm just kidding. My
I mean,
country
it's no
just came
different
out
than
for a
any other
second.
blockchain meetup. It's just one big sausage fest.
Ain't that the truth? Come,
yeah.
hello, fellow sausages.
And speaking of that, to that point too, like we're talking about cybersecurity and scammers and cybersecurity, and like that's cool, but there's also like a growing threat of like physical security, off of what that lady was just like talking about with the Bored Apes and Sausage Fest. But there are a growing threat towards like women in like physical like
Can
NFT
confirm.
conventions. And so to the point where it was actually in 2021 NFT New York City. I was on the phone with some person I met in space. Like she was just like, she didn't even know like what to do. She just like, hey, like, here's my number. Please call me. I'm like having a panic attack. I'm at NFT New York City. I don't know what to do. And I guess she heard me. That was like former like military, like infantry. Like I was in the reconnaissance unit. And so she like called me up, and she's like, can you just like, I think someone's stalking me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And so like we got on video, and I was like, all right, well, I was like at my house and like on the computer giving her directions. I can clearly see this guy's like definitely following her. So what I did was I pretty much got her like onto a different like train and like mapped her up around all of New York City back to where she was. She lost a stalker after the second train. And then I stayed with her on the phone until she got over the bridge to New Jersey, and then gave her like a route reconnaissance plan for like what she should do, like if this was going to happen again. And that kind of kicked off my start to like, maybe why don't I partner with some like tactical like NFT projects, which I middle of talks right now, where this one group, they're all like former special forces guys. They have this like NFT project, and all they're doing is just like training people how to like navigate at conventions and provide like security, and teach like people how to like if you're at a bar and someone's like, you know, if you're at a bar, like what happens if someone's like coming at you like aggressively, how to like, you know,
Most
like
exploits happen. A lot of exploits happen IRL, right? Like, you know, we're talking about like virtual vulnerabilities. There's IRL vulnerabilities too. Like, you know, and
I will be honest, I cannot help myself as, you know, a chronic tinkerer. I love walking around a hackathon and seeing how many laptops are just like unlocked while people get up and go get their food. Like, I love it. And you wouldn't, I mean, maybe you would be surprised, maybe you wouldn't. I'm never surprised by the amount of laptops that are left. And, you know, you might have just gotten up very quickly to go grab something. And it's okay if your laptop is within vision, I guess, because you can see nobody will physically take it. And generally speaking, hackathons are safe. But you shouldn't leave your keyboard unlocked and stuff like I'm not your keyboard unlocked, but you shouldn't leave like your screen unlocked. You should still at least, on Windows, it's like Windows L, I think, immediately locks your screen. And I forget the password, the shortcut on Mac, but you should always lock yourself out. And apparently, some people that go to hackathons and are developers don't even have passwords on their machines and don't even have basic encryption on their machines. So, you can very easily play like a nice roulette game where you're like, whose laptop should I steal today? And you grab a laptop, and 9 out of 10 times, I guarantee you'll have a text file in that laptop with some private keys or something. And the laptop doesn't even have encryption. And if you're lucky, it has password protection. But if it doesn't, it's super easy to just image that hard drive and like take all the data from it.
It's a good
Well, there you go.
I used to do digital forensics and incident response, and you'd be amazed at how easy it is to steal data, or sorry, gather evidence.
Yeah, gather evidence. That's the right term. Thank you for clarifying.
For the sake of not getting sued, I do not go around stealing laptops. These are just things
That's what I
they're
got.
scientific observations. And my scientific observations from attending hackathons is that people do not take care of physical security.
It fits your title of mischief manager, and I like
Defense
that you
against the
lived
dark
the mischief
arts.
part.
That's what I'm here for. I'm teaching everybody defense against the dark arts.
Yeah, that's what. If you're not doing a hackathon called Defense Against the Dark Arts, that needs to happen ASAP. That's too great.
All right, quick, someone sponsor me.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We need hackathons at NFTLA, Zach. Let's let's get it on.
We're working on it. Let's do this. I like it. And actually, I really liked what Foxtrot was bringing up about, both helping figure out security, like physical, personal security at large gatherings. So yeah, like as a organizer of NFTLA, I'm both interested in like how we can make sure we're doing the best job we can on that front, but also how do we include that kind of education for everyone?
No, I think this has been a great conversation. Now talking about big events, there was a big event just happening in Colombia, DevCon, and I know Smart Token Labs, the guys from TokenScript, they just had a great development in regards to how token can somehow combat or fight these what we're just discussing. Like in case somebody leaves their laptop open or whatever, they might have an answer to this, don't you guys? Weiwu, are you guys there?
Sorry, my internet cut out very quickly, so I didn't get the last part of that question.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing this up. So the idea of TokenScript is basically that the users will trust the tokens, because we think that as Web3 expands, the number of websites that can read or write or operate tokens will be a lot greater than the number of tokens. So let's say you have ape token, you can use it in a hotel, or you can use it in a voting website, or you can use it to book tickets, or you can use it as an identity to log into websites, or set it as an avatar and stuff. But normally, all these would require the users to connect the wallet. So what TokenScript does is that we allow the token issuer, such as the ape, to create secure runtime code, and they're running in the user's wallet and directly connect to the smart contracts. And then they will provide the necessary interaction to the websites. So in a way, instead of connecting to a wallet, it allows you to connect to tokens. Does it make sense?
It does. It does.
I was like, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, yeah. She just thumbs down. I think, Dan, you fat fingered the wrong one.
I keep fat fingering, yeah.
We're coming up on that time. I don't know if you guys can stay around, but I do have to run. If we had lingering questions, how do you want to wrap us, Danny?
Well, I mean, there's a pinned tweet in the top, and that's the giveaway that we were doing for NFTLA tickets. And I believe we might have a winner in the room. So big kudos and congratulations to @Nathan_GoldX. kudos to you. I'm sending you a DM right now from the NFT LA account. You are the happy winner to a general ticket to NFT LA. Now, other than that, I mean, this was just great. I loved every single bit of this conversation. I personally learned a lot. I'm glad that I recently bought a ledger and I moved everything to my ledger. I am going to be aware of live events and leaving my laptop unlocked, even specifically if I'm near Limaris, because I don't want anything weird happening on my computer. I'm going to delete that TXT file from my computer as well. And I think we had a lot of good learnings. What do you think, Zach?
I know we had a lot of good learnings because I've got more questions than when I started. So I'm learning how much I don't know.
Well, let's get these guys. Let's get these guys at NFTLA.
I would love that. This has been such a great conversation.
It was a great conversation. This was one of my favorite spaces. War Dogs, I see you there. I'm assuming that's Foxtrot. That's what you were talking about. That's the group you were working with.
They're one of the groups. They're like an Australian group. They're doing more like hardware type stuff. I mean, I'll let him explain, but there's a group that's between War Dogs and I that is doing more tactical training, like in like Florida area.
Well, guys, we would love to have you guys out at NFTLA, and let's talk. Let's see if we can do another space like this. This was really informative. I think we need to continue doing these spaces because this is how people learn to protect themselves, and we get some really fun stories out of it. Even though sometimes they're a bit scary to approach these topics. There's a lot of
rug of the week.
Yeah, it's the right appropriate time for it. So.
Nice.
All right, it's kickoff. I gotta go root for the Ravens. Let's go.
All right, good luck.
Let's go.
Everybody.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Limaris. Thank you, Peiyu. Thank you, Weiwu. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, we will wrap it. Thank you so much for staying here. And if you want to stay for a little bit of music, we'll play one tune and leave you guys to it. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend.
Sounds so good. So sweet. Living in this big new world, in my head up in outer space. I know I'll be okay. I know I'll be okay. When I see trouble come my way, I'll be making lemonade. I know I'll be okay. I know I'll be okay. Hey little lady, I know you're feeling crazy. All your other friends are busy making them babies. Been out in the real world, don't like how it stays. Let me change your mind with my little old say. 2, 4, 6, 8, who do we appreciate? Put some sugar in my water, cause you're making lemonade. Fuck all the hate, do a shimmy shake. Throw a middle finger up down the interstate. Living in the big new world, with my head up and out of space. I know I'll be okay. I know I'll be okay. When I see trouble come my way, I'll be taking lemonade. I know I'll be okay. I know I'll be I'd be lying if I said I knew the way. I just eat shit and pretend that it's gourmet. I've had terrible, horrible, no good, very bad days. And I'm a king, can't you see that I will always be okay. Okay. I'm gonna be okay. You gonna be okay. We gonna be okay. Living in this big new world, with my head up and out of space. I know I'll be I know I'll be okay. When I see trouble come my way,
right. Thank you everyone so much for joining. See you in 2 weeks for another session of Twitter Spaces by NFT now. Have a good one.